Texas, again, more snow, or ice, actually. Plenty of power. It's 400,000 suffer outage. I agree there is plenty of power. I mean, he's saying a correct thing. We have plenty of food. We just can't give it to these people. So there is plenty of power. They just can't get it to these people. So again, that's a little bit of a twisted declaration from him. Insisted there's enough energy in the electrical grid. It's just that the grid is broken.
Right. Yeah, that's the generation is there. It's the grid is not capable of sustaining the output right now. Like their grid has been fucked for a long time.
Right. And yeah,
yeah,
I mean, why do you think it is fucked up?
well, probably a lack of investment in infrastructure.
Right. I agree. It is bad infrastructure, but the Texas government has allowed the private company to do that infrastructure and make decisions on that infrastructure. And that private company has decided that they don't want to spend money on preventive maintenance. And
Yeah, so they might uh, be able to do with a little more regulation there.
I appreciate you saying that. Welcome to the party, comrade. Uh,
I didn't advocate for
you're a
the state taking over the
socialist
power
now.
supply.
I appreciate you finally coming over to the Socialist Party.
I mean, when
I know.
I clearly identify a deficiency somewhere, then yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
addressed. I mean, this is a lot of people without power, and people are dying over it. So yeah, if the companies won't fix it themselves, which would have been in their best interest to do,
Mm-hmm.
because eventually changes get made. That
Hopefully, yeah.
yeah, you would hope. So we'll see if Texas responds to the fact that they've had these outages for the last few years in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do have to do something about it. It's getting ridiculous at this point.
Right. A company is not holding up their end of the bargain, which means that the government needs to regulate or enforce on them.
Yeah, and maybe they should consider not using um, above ground power lines so much, because
Digging,
that's what it sounds like is the
yeah,
problem.
digging ditches is expensive, and the company doesn't want to pay for that. So, and this is not every. I mean, where am I going with this? Most libertarian ideas are bad, and I think this is libertarianism at work. This is the downside of libertarianism, letting the companies do these things, letting the companies make these choices, uh, is going to lead to this. And I think, yeah, this is why I don't like libertarianism. Not saying that you are, but we know one. Um, and I think this is the gaping flaw of libertarianism.
Well, what the state should be doing is talking to the power companies and saying, look, here's the areas that we've had the most problems with, right? So
Mm-hmm.
do you have plans to fix this? Number one, and what are they, and what's the timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Or what has to happen for us to get this fixed? So, I mean, it's not like a black and white libertarian versus socialist kind of thing. It's, can the government work with the company that's responsible for these power lines to get something done? I think it should. I think that's the reasonable course of action. And
Um,
if the company outright refuses to do anything within reason, then yeah, you start taking punitive actions against them.
well, I think the government is kissing the company's ass right now. The government says the power grid has maintained ample power supply for the entire state. the entire time. They're
Yeah, the problem is getting that
allied,
power to the people.
right? They are spinning the truth. I think Greg Abbott here is spinning the truth just slightly. Hey, we have these people who don't have it. And he's like, what do you mean? The grid's maintained ample power supply for the entire state the entire time. And that's a true statement, except that we're not getting it to the people. And that's the company's fault. But he's not saying, hey, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to fix it. He's saying there is no problem. The entire state, the entire time, is him taking the company side instead of the people side. He's the governor.
Well,
He should be on the people side, not the company side.
and where did he? Oh, it was on Twitter. He wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is enough power for current demand. Well, this graph shows that there's been plenty of power available on the grid all day. Yes, there is plenty of power. We get it. The lines are down because the
Yeah, he's saying
company.
that the lines are down because the tree limbs fell off because of the ice accumulation.
Mm-hmm.
So
And like you said, if they were to dig them underground, and you could avoid that. I mean, it happened last year, right? The ice is what caused the problems last year, but they've done nothing to fix it. They've been as cheap as possible. The company has, and if the governor is more interested in that company, he'll say things like this. If he were interested in the people, he would push the company to follow regulations. He would push the company to put lines underground. And I think that's why you suggested it. You care about the people. Um, and I don't think Greg Abbott does. He cares about the company.
um, I'm not sure what Abbott's motivations are.
Money.
And I also don't know if he, I also don't know if there's anything happening behind the scenes. You would think that at some point, some kind of action has to be taken,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can't have this happen every single year
Mm-hmm.
because that's ridiculous. And people are going to start getting pissed off about that and wondering why um, their legislatures aren't doing anything to fix this problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? Eventually, they'll turn on this guy if they don't get their act together. Which I don't want them to. I don't want to see that, but it's gonna happen. People will get fed up with not having power.
I hope so. But if you don't vote for Greg Abbott, you have to vote for Beto. And he's a Democrat, so you can't vote for him.